And welcome back, folks! We are starting the new Naruto What If Naruto had a Zanpakuto series. And the winner of the last poll was the first Kenpachi's and the former captain of Squad 4's Retsu/Yajiru Unohata's Minazuki. Now, obviously, for those of us who are a little less versed in Bleach, let's just do a quick rundown of what Minazuki does. Because the way these stories are going to pan out, and when Naruto activates Zanpakuto abilities, is more dependent on Naruto and the Zanpakuto, because Naruto's personality, his goals, his vibes, aren't going to meld as well with other Zanpakutos. Minazuki is a very weird one. So, Minazuki is one we actually don't know the release for. I'm just going to use a random release that I like. I like Gorge, personally, so Gorge will be the release of Minazuki. Minazuki is a little longer than a standard katana. It's a bit more curved. It's about the length of Kadachi, so it's a pretty long sword. Its Shikai, though, is a giant manta ray that can fly, has one eye, and can heal people by swallowing them whole and letting them rest in its stomach juices and stomach acids. So, yeah, it's a very weird Zanpakuto in that regard. We don't know if it has any other abilities, whether it has any like combat level abilities, given who Unohana actually was. My guess is it might have other abilities besides just healing, but because it just doesn't add up to her personality as we ultimately know who she was, because this was her Zanpakuto prior to gaining that kind of sweet motherly role to her. So we have to assume it may have a combat ability. I may think of something later on in the series, but for now we'll go under the assumption it does not. But if I can think of something cool, because spitting out acid is actually counterproductive as a weapon, because the acid this thing spits out in Shikai actually heals, so can't really do that. But still, it is a giant beast you can use for flying. I mean, it's pretty big too. It's not quite Gamabunta size. You can see Unohana and Isane there as a reference in the picture, but it's still a pretty big creature. The Bankai, however, of this sword, second release, is this image that I feel like I improved a little bit from my Ichibei one that I did with Naruto, though I still feel I probably should have used a different image of Naruto's head. I didn't want to use just a smiling Naruto because that would not have matched here. But you can tell the pixelation's a little off, and I needed to get rid of the scar because this is a feminine body, this is a woman's body, so it's clear Naruto isn't a woman. And I think his head might just be a little too big in this picture, though I don't know if I could have shrunk it down much farther to make it look convincing. Either way, I tried to do his pectorals as best I could. Anyway, Unohana's Bankai, and we're about 3 minutes in, shouldn't take more than a minute to explain it, it's hard to explain. We see it in the manga, but we're never given a true explanation of what it does. The prevailing theory, though, is similar to Shikai. It turns all this goo that comes off it, this red blood-like stuff, is actually acid. As we do see her and Kenpachi kind of burn away into skeletons. And it's implied that she basically heals them both up. That her Bankai is so strong that it could even kill her in theory. Kind of like how Yamamoto's can kill him. So that's the prevailing theory. And this makes sense given how Minazuki works ultimately as a Zanpakuto. So, with that being said, all these Zanpakuto videos will start off basically, at the same point where it's the night Naruto steals a scroll. He learns the Shadow Clone Jutsu, because obviously none of these are actually tied to his soul. These aren't his Zanpakuto in the sense of this is the Zanpakuto spawned from his very existence, spawned from his soul and represents him. No, obviously in this case, these are in the Naruto world. These are kind of like heirlooms passed down throughout history and stuff like that. And if you are responsive to it, it will work. In Naruto's case, obviously, he's going to be responsive on some level to all of these Zanpakuto. It's just what level and when he gets the full capabilities of these things is the question. But now that we're near at the 5-minute mark, let's actually get into the what if. So Naruto, obviously, he's finished doing the Shadow Clone Jutsu. In this scenario, we give him just maybe a couple extra minutes to kind of just look over the scroll again. He sees a seal that reminds him of the Uzumaki swirl. It's got an Uzumaki symbol on there. To me, all the Zanpakuto that we will see in this, it makes sense that from a how Naruto would get it would be that it's actually a family heirloom kind of thing. It was a sword of the Uzumakis or whatever. In this case, Unohana, Retsu Unohana Uzumaki, let's call it. That's the Unohana is actually her middle name in this case. But he unlocks it. But you know, he's got a little blood and sweat, so DNA activates seal, and the sword pops out. Naruto's looking, he's like, "It's a what? It's a sword. What is this?" And he grabs it, and immediately he can feel something's different. Like he can feel a presence. He looks around like is someone there, and he's sitting there, he's just kind of like, huh, just shrugs his shoulders and whatever. And you know, he kind of like, oh, cool. And then, you know, Iruka comes and he confronts Naruto. Then Mizuki comes. Now this goes about the same. Naruto, I don't think Naruto's honestly going to use the sword right at the bat. Like to fight Mizuki, I don't think he's going to use it because Naruto's not really versed in swordsmanship right now. But he does at least keep the sword, at least for the time being. We'll talk about that in just a second. So he keeps it, and also we should know that Naruto is short even for his age. He was one of the shortest individuals in his class. That is like I said, it's a big sword. It's about the length of almost the length of a Kodachi, not I believe it's Kodachi anyway. It's almost Nodachi. Sorry, it's almost the length of a Nodachi, which is longer than the katana. And Naruto, and even a katana, I think Naruto could probably handle a katana, but it's still he's too short right now. He's got to like sling it on his back. So this is the part where I think we never really get addressed what happened here, like even in the canon, where Naruto returned the scroll because he stole the scroll of sealing. You don't just get away with that. So he comes back, and he apologizes, but the third admits that he understands what happened, and then Naruto's given a warning, a pretty stern warning, never to do it again. But he's let off. But before Naruto leaves the third Hokage's office, the third Hokage notices the sword on his back. Naruto, where did you get that sword from? It came out of the scroll. The scroll, old man. Do I have to give it back? I kind of like it. I mean, I learned the Shadow Clone Jutsu, but I mean, if I'm going to be Hokage, I need to really learn more ways to defend myself and protect people and all that. So and then the Star's just looking at it like, you're saying this came from the scroll, Naruto? So yeah, is that a problem? But I cannot say for certain, but he thinks that but looking at it, it seems to suit you for some reason. Very well. You have my as it came from the scroll is technically the property of the leaf, but you're the only one who could have, as you're the only person the sword seems to have accepted after all this time. As Hokage, I permit you to carry that weapon. It's cool. Wait, what do you mean accept? I don't know everything about the history of that blade, Naruto, but it is not just a simple weapon. It has a mind of its own. And it would not have, if it did not accept you, it would have known for certain. But if you're going, and then he basically kind of goes into his, because I'm sure he has all kinds of basic scrolls there. If you are going to be taking up the sword, you'll need to learn at least some level of formal style. And he goes in, reaches in, gets a scroll, pops out another scroll, a scroll for storing scrolls. It's like, here, take this. It is basic sword combat. And at some point, if we can find you a teacher, we will. But until then, learn from that scroll and do the best you can. You say you learned the Shadow Clone Jutsu, is that right? That I would say he's not. I don't think he would tell Naruto the secret of the Shadow Clone per se, but I did say, seeing as you can make multiples of yourself now, it'll make for effective training partners. I'd say, hey, that's right. Oh, wow, that's right. Cool, thanks. So and Naruto kind of grins himself, like, I didn't have to tell him the secret of it. He'll figure it out on his own, hopefully. So yeah, now we don't actually know the amount of time, as best I know, between then and when Naruto went for his team building, or the team announcements. I assume it's about a week, because he does have to get his photo taken. In the meantime, let's just say it happens let's just say this all happened on a Sunday, going into Monday, and then the next Monday is when they get their team announcements. So he's got a whole week. Let's say the picture took place on Wednesday. So Naruto, has the time off, so he starts learning training with the scroll, and he finds the double-edged sword scenario where he is enjoying the sword. I think Naruto. First off, we do see in the Boruto movie that Naruto, when he got Hail Sase's sword, was actually really damn skilled with the sword. It pisses me off. He never got a sword, and like that would have been really cool. But he's practicing it, and the basic forms, he's actually getting it down pretty quick because Naruto is a prodigy of hard work. Like he can learn things actually very quickly when he applies himself. And the fact that he's using the clones and not realizing he's actually gaining knowledge with the clones is really helping him out and speeding him along a bit. The problem is what I brought up earlier. The sword is huge compared to Naruto. It's taller than Naruto is. So it's not heavy. It's just a little awkward for him to use, particularly because he can't hold it at his waist. He has to hold it on his back, and it's slightly curved. So Naruto's had to figure out ways to hold the blade. I think what Naruto would ultimately do is he holds it, and I've never actually practiced in a sword style like this, but I have with minor spars with friends, held a weapon like this before. And he, instead of holding the blade flat, like the flat side against his back, what he does is he actually basically, I guess, jury rigs isn't the right term. Between the strap and maybe using a little bit like a harness for something that kind of keeps the scabbard in place, he actually holds the blade, the dull side of the blade against his back. So that way he can basically just pull it, just shink, and then come out like that. And I think that would work actually very advantageous for Naruto. All the while, he's having these dreams every night as he goes to bed, as he's improving quicker and quicker, getting more competent with the sword, actually getting stronger for a change. He keeps getting these dreams, and there's no voice per se, but there's a noise, and there's a sound, and there's this image, this visage of an individual cloaked that he can't see in the shadows. And he also hears another noise too, just this. And he just hears the roar. He just keeps waking up. He's waking up almost in a cold sweat for the first few days. But as he's getting more and more into his training, and he's having these dreams more and more, he's actually adapting, getting used to. It's a creepy image, but it's he's drawn to it. He needs to know who this is and why they're here. And now the growling he kind of picks up on, that's probably the fox. But why exactly? Why is the fox getting this upset? He hasn't been upset all this time. Why is he hearing him now? Cut to Naruto and Konohamaru just being wacky and shenanigan. I still think Naruto does the stupid paint on his face. Him and Konohamaru, they just that entire thing goes the same. Except the fact I don't think Naruto would draw his sword on Ebisu. I think he'd still just show like he did the Sekijutsu on the third Hokage. I bet he'd use it on Ebisu. So you cut back down to the remaining of his training. At this point now, he's actually gotten pretty far through the scroll. If we think of it like a book of pages, let's say there's 100 pages in the book, he's probably gotten between the clones and just him practicing and going through the forms, he's probably gotten through a good third to almost half of the book or scroll at this point. So he's actually coming along pretty well. He'd be the most competent swordsman of his generation in terms of his age group, because no one else is a swordsman in his age group, but he's still the most competent. He could actually hold his own against, say, a high tier Genin right now in terms of swordsmanship, and maybe even a low tier Chunin, because again, those shadow clones and a natural proficiency. There we go. Natural proficiency go a long way. But again, the dreams keep coming. And eventually we get to the final night where he's sleeping. And again, it happens. And he finds himself in this corridor and he's walking. And he sees the gate of the fox and he sees the eyes. So my jailer finally comes to pay me a visit. And he's like, first that blasted Ray, now you. It's like, Ray? And then in the corner, he just sees a figure looking up at the Ninetales silently. It's like, hello? It's like, who are you? And then the figure turns around. Now, for those of you who are unaware, This is the anime filler spirit for Minazuki. We never see this thing's face, and we never hear it talk. We should also note that while this technically isn't canon, Tite Kubo himself had input on all the humanoid designs of the spirits that were used in that filler arc. And we know that transferred over because Shuhei's went in For Your Own World. Kazashini is described looking the way it did in the filler, and Katen Kyokatsu looks exactly like she did, except for like the eye patch is different. So, willing to bet, assuming that it takes a humanoid appearance, this is what Minazuki actually looks like. But that's the thing, Minazuki's also a rare case where I don't know if this is a man or a woman. With most female Soul Reapers, they have a female Zanpakuto. With most male Soul Reapers, they have a male Zanpakuto. But there are exceptions. There are four male Soul Reapers that have female Zanpakuto. And the prevailing theory is, particularly with 3 of them that we know for certain, in this case, Kenpachi Zaraki, Kisuke Urahara, Shunsui, and the 8th Kenpachi, they all have a female Zanpakuto spirit because they had a woman in their life that was so influential and basically put them on their path that it defined what their Zanpakuto in their soul would be. With Kenpachi, it was Onohana herself. With the 8th Kenpachi, it was his sister. With Shunsui, it was I believe his sister or his brother's sister. His brother's wife. So one of those. We don't know who it was for Kisuke, though. The point being, this is one of the cases where I don't know if this is a male or a female spirit. I think we're actually I might refer to Minazuki as a he accidentally, but I think I'm actually going to make it a gender neutral. I think I'm going to make it a non-binary character. But he sees this thing, and it looks at him, and he's like, who are you? And it doesn't say anything. It just walks over to him, and Naruto just can't see the face, and just walks over to him. Naruto's freaked out, but he's standing his ground. He's like, who are you? It's like, why do I know you? Say my name. It's like, it just whispers. Like, that's how I think Minazuki would speak, is just whispers. And it's like, what's your name? It's like, and he can't hear it. And the, what? It's like, why can't you hear my name? Naruto. It's like, who are you? And then finally, as he's about, he can kind of feel himself waking up and fading. Just, why do you wield the blade? And then just says, what? And Naruto wakes up again and calls it, what the hell was that? So, yeah, Minazuki is a very different spirit because it's Unohana's spirit, so it's very different than something like what Ichimonji would have been. So Naruto, Naruto's like, whoa. But at the same time, he gets up. He's still shaking, but he realizes what day it is. Like, yeah, he drinks his expired milk. That's not going over well later. And although it took him a while to really get the runs, so good on his constitution. He held out for a while. But anyway, so he goes into class, got a sword strapped to his back, and he's sitting there and he's happy. And would Naruto put his sword down? I think you just keep the sword. I'm like, because the way it's positioned, it's diagonal back. He could sit down without a problem. And Hinata sees like, Naruto, you passed. I'm glad. But also, she does know. It's like, why does he got a sword? Oh, it's like, why does he have a sword? It's like, Naruto, this isn't for dropouts. I see, this is regulation headband, Shikamaru. We're training together. Yeah, whatever. By the way, when did you pick up a sword? Oh, this, this was I kind of found it, and the third let me have it. And it's like, really? Wow, the third let you have it? Interesting, huh? And Sasuke is actually at least paying attention to that. Like, he's just not caring mostly, but he does pick up on that. Like, no, he's wielding a sword now. And then Twitch Shikamaru, or Kiba actually says, like, huh, you want to go with that thing? I bet you cut yourself up. It shows what you know. I bet you I'm better than anyone here with a sword, which actually is true at this point. Even Sasuke can't do it. I mean, Sasuke could probably wield a sword okay, but he's not, he actually hasn't been training in it. So, yeah, Naruto actually is the best in the class with a sword. And then obviously, Ino and Sakura show up. First, she kicks Naruto out of the sea, to which Naruto, keep in mind, too, unlike in the original, Minazuki, it doesn't really give a crap about Naruto's relationships in that regard.
So, though Minazuki is paying attention to everything, and Minazuki probably does have its own opinion on this, like, idiot. It's like, why does he? And he like whispers up to Kurama, tell me, why does he enjoy this female? It's like, which Kurama actually does kind of goes like, oh, I know. It's like, she's actually more annoying than he is. But yeah, I'm bashing a little. I don't intend to. I'll make a joke every video if I can, but I don't intend to bash very much if I can help it, because I've done enough of that in the past. In terms of my own personal opinion on the character, I've said my piece as best I can. Every once in a while, I'll bring it back up, but whatever. Anyway, still goes the same. I think, though, would Naruto still get in Sasuke's face? I think a little bit of, I think Minazuki just kind of nudges a little bit just to sit back down a little bit, just like, don't get involved. To which Naruto almost wants to do it, but you can kind of feel that nagging voice in his head, Minazuki in this case, say, yeah, don't bother, it's not worth it, it'll be fine. Just go back, and, it's like, fine, and he just sits back down. And so Iruka comes in, and he announces the teams. And unfortunately, Naruto still, there's very few scenarios that Naruto doesn't get placed on Team 7, outside of a, what if Naruto's on a different team video? Or Naruto's a prodigy or something like that. Whatever. Naruto's got different abilities that could lend him being on a different team. The reason for that is Naruto only gained the sword in about a week, and he's grown pretty quick with it, but still, it's not like his grades changed, and they already did that. Made that happen. So Naruto is going to be on Team 7. It's like, yeah, Naruto Uzumaki, Sakura Haruno. And, Naruto's like, yeah, I'm doomed. And Sasuke, yeah, I'm doomed. It's like, and still Naruto's like, why is a great ninja like me got to be on a team like Sasuke? He's like, he had the best scores. Naruto, you had the worst scores. And anyway, so that's all well and good. Naruto still plays the prank on Kakashi Sensei. Does Naruto kidnap Sasuke, pretend to be him, basically creep out Sakura a bit? That's a good question. Would he? Probably. Because Minazuki doesn't have a big influence right now on him. But at the same time, maybe he doesn't, because he doesn't want to just give up his sword. Weirdly enough, I actually don't think he would. Because he does have his sword, he'd have to put his sword down. He's not just going to leave his sword lying around. Even though he could transform and I guess hide the sword, I don't think he'd do that. Surprisingly, because again, he feels weirdly connected to the sword, albeit he's having these weird dreams about this hooded creature. So, yeah, I actually think Naruto wouldn't try to take on because only because he doesn't want to just put the sword down. So, yeah. Granted, he obviously puts it down when he's at home and relaxing, because Soul Reapers don't always carry their Zanpakuto on them at all times. Look at Yoruichi, for example. She actually very rarely had her Zanpakuto on her. We never actually saw her except in a flashback with it. So, yeah, I gotta say that he actually would probably avoid it, only because he doesn't want to give up his sword, or ditch his sword. So again, he plays the prank at Kakashi. Kakashi shows up. They say have the meeting on the roof. This all actually goes exactly the same. All of it goes the same. And so, Naruto goes to bed that night. We're actually at the good point where we're getting ready to stop. And has the dream has the dream. Except after a while, Naruto's starting to realize this isn't it. Finally starts to realize, it's you again. Wait, this isn't a dream, is it? And the fox actually does less. Maybe he's not as dumb as he looks. Then again, that's impossible. What did you say? It's like, you heard me, brat. It's like, and then Miyazuki just looks at him again, just whispers the question again. Why do you wield the blade? It's like, what do you mean? I want a service chip so I can get stronger. Why do you seek strength? And Naruto is just, wait, so I can be Hokage, so everyone will respect me. It's not, and Minazuki just kind of looks up and turns away, and just like, it's not enough. It's like, what? Not enough. And where are you gonna? Miyazuki just fades and says, "You heard the Ray.
It's not, just wanting acknowledgement is not enough, brat. Leave. And just, power, blast Naruto out there. It's like, and Naruto wakes up and it's like, time for, it's time for our first mission as Team 7 or whatever, or time for a test, whatever. And he gets up and he grabs a sword. Again, he's feeling, he still hasn't put together yet that the sword, that is the sword. That is the spirit of the sword. He still hasn't put it together yet. But ultimately, that is where we're going to end part 1. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. As always, you want us to review something, put in the comments below. Let us know. We'll do a review of it at some point. Hit that bell if you want to be notified. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.